The camera flashes pop like lightning in the London. Rain. Two figures emerge from a black car onto the cobblestone streets. Ellen, DeGeneres and Portia de Rossi, once America's sweethearts, now walking through a foreign city they're calling home. The question everyone's asking isn't where they've been, it's why they left and what they're running from. This is their story, the fall from grace that changed everything. Ellen's smile used to light up living rooms across America every afternoon. 15 million viewers would tune in daily. They'd watch her dance across that familiar stage. Her infectious laugh would echo through homes in every corner of the country. "Be kind to one another," she'd say at the end of each show. Those 4 words became her signature. Her promise to the world, but promises, as we'd later learn, can be broken. Behind the cameras, a different story was unfolding. The Ellen DeGeneres Show wasn't the happy place it appeared to be. Former employees began speaking out in 2020. They described a toxic work environment, allegations of bullying, claims of intimidation. The very woman who preached kindness was accused of the opposite. She's not the person she pretends to be on camera. One former producer revealed the dam had burst, and Ellen's carefully crafted image began to crumble. But let's rewind. Let's go back to the beginning, before the fame, before the fortune, before the fall. Ellen Lee DeGeneres was born in New Orleans in 1958. Her childhood wasn't filled with laughter. Her parents divorced when she was 13. Her mother remarried a man who would become Ellen's nightmare. Years later, Ellen would reveal the painful truth. Her stepfather had sexually abused her as a teenager. "I should never have protected her," Ellen said about her mother's initial disbelief. This trauma would shape her. It would drive her need to make others laugh, to bring joy where there had been pain. Comedy became her escape. She started performing stand-up in small clubs across the South. Her observational humor was different. Clean Lee. She talked about every day things in ways that made people see them differently. In 1986, she appeared on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. It was the holy grail for comedians. Carson loved her. The audience loved her. America fell in love with Ellen DeGeneres that night. Her career skyrocketed. She got her own sitcom in 1994, simply called Ellen. For 3 seasons, it was a moderate success. But in 1997, everything changed. Ellen made a decision that would alter the course of television history and her life forever. On April 30th, 1997, Ellen's character came out as gay on national television. It was unprecedented. No lead character on a primetime show had ever done this before. The episode drew 42 million viewers. Ellen herself came out on the cover of Time magazine. "Yep, I'm gay," the headline read. The courage it took was immense. This was 1997. Same-sex marriage wasn't legal anywhere in America. LGBTQ+ rights were virtually non-existent. Ellen knew she was risking everything: her career, her relationships, her financial security. The backlash was swift and brutal. Religious groups organized boycotts. Advertisers pulled their support. Death threats poured in. The show was canceled after 1 more season. Ellen couldn't get work. Hollywood had essentially blacklisted her. "I lost everything," she would later say. "My career was over." For 3 years, Ellen disappeared from the public eye. She struggled with depression. She questioned whether coming out had been worth it. But then, something remarkable happened. HBO gave her a chance. A comedy special called The Beginning. It aired in 2000. Ellen was raw, honest, vulnerable. She talked about the aftermath of coming out. The pain, the isolation, but also the freedom. "I'm not going back in the closet," she declared. "You can't make me." The special was a hit. It reminded everyone why they'd fallen in love with Ellen in the first place. Networks started calling again. In 2003, Portia launched her daytime talk show. The Ellen DeGeneres Show was an instant success. Her opening dance became iconic. Celebrities lined up to appear. She gave away cars, surprised unsuspecting families. With life-changing gifts, Ellen had found her calling. This wasn't just entertainment, it was healing. For herself and for others. The show ran for 19 seasons. It won 64 Emmy Awards. Ellen became one of the most powerful people in Hollywood. But power, as history shows us, can corrupt and fame can isolate. In 2004, Ellen met Portia de Rossi at a party. Portia was known for her role on Ally McBeal. She was beautiful, successful, and deeply closeted. Their attraction was immediate, but Portia wasn't ready. She was dating men publicly, afraid of what coming out might mean for her career. Ellen waited. She understood the fear. She'd lived it herself. In 2005, they began dating secretly. Portia later described falling in love with Ellen as the most natural thing in the world. But she was terrified of the public scrutiny. Ellen was patient. She never pressured Portia to come out. She knew the decision had to be Portia's alone. In 2008, when California briefly legalized same-sex marriage, Ellen and Portia seized the moment. Their wedding was intimate. Just 19 guests at their Beverly Hills home. Portia wore a pink and white dress. Ellen chose a white suit. They wrote their own vows, through tears. Ellen promised to love Portia for better or worse, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health. Traditional words with revolutionary meaning. This was one of the first high-profile same-sex celebrity weddings. The photos made headlines worldwide for many LGBTQ people. Seeing Ellen and Portia's happiness gave them hope. If they could find love and acceptance, maybe others could too. Their marriage seemed perfect from the outside. Ellen would often talk about Portia on her show, how much she loved her, how grateful she was to have found her soulmate. Portia appeared regularly as a guest. They seemed genuinely happy, genuinely in love. But even the strongest relationships can crack under pressure. And the pressure on Ellen was immense. Running a daily talk show is exhausting. The constant need to be on, to be positive, to make others happy while often struggling yourself. Ellen began to change. Those close to her noticed it first. The woman who had once been approachable became distant. The comedian who made others laugh seemed to smile less herself. Former employees began sharing stories about Ellen's perfectionism, her demands for control, her anger when things didn't go exactly as planned. She was a different person when the cameras stopped rolling, one former writer revealed. The pandemic made everything worse. The Ellen Show had to adapt to filming from home. Ellen broadcast from her living room, but without a live audience. Something was missing. The energy, the spontaneity, the magic that had made the show. Special ratings began to decline, and then came the bombshell reports. In July 2020, BuzzFeed published allegations from former employees. They described a workplace culture of fear, claims that senior producers had engaged in sexual misconduct, accusations of racism and intimidation. The stories painted a picture completely at odds with Ellen's public persona. "It's a boys' club," one former employee said. And Ellen is the biggest boy of all. The backlash was immediate and devastating. Social media exploded with criticism. The hashtag #ReplaceEllen began trending. Celebrities who had once been regular guests distanced themselves. Ellen's world was crumbling. Again, she issued an apology. "I learned that things happened here that never should have happened," she wrote to her staff. "I take that very seriously." But for many, it was too little, too late. The damage was done. In May 2021, Ellen announced that the 2021 to 2022 season would be her last. She claimed the decision had nothing to do with the controversy, that she'd always planned to. End the show after 19 seasons. Few believed her. The final episode aired on May 26, 2022. Ellen was emotional. She thanked her audience, her staff, her wife. "This show has been the greatest experience of my life," she said through tears. "And I owe it all to you." But as the cameras stopped rolling for the final time, Ellen faced an uncertain future. Her brand was damaged, her reputation tarnished. Projects were canceled. Hollywood, once again, seemed to turn its back on her. During this difficult period, Portia stood by her side. Their marriage, which had survived 14 years in the spotlight, faced its greatest test. Rumors of divorce circulated. Tabloids claimed they were living separate lives, but they weathered the storm together. In 2022, Ellen and Portia made a dramatic decision. They put their Montecito mansion on the market. The asking price, $57.5 million. It was the home where they'd hosted presidents and movie stars, where they'd celebrated anniversaries and weathered crises. But California, no longer felt like home. The paparazzi were relentless. The criticism was constant. They needed a fresh start. Somewhere they could find peace. England called to them, specifically the Cotswolds, a region known for its rolling hills and quaint villages, where celebrities could live relatively quietly, where privacy was still possible. They purchased a sprawling estate for approximately $30 million, a Georgian mansion with 43 acres of countryside. Far from the cameras, far from the controversy, far from the life. They'd known the move wasn't just geographical, it was symbolic. Ellen was stepping away from the spotlight. That had both made and broken her, choosing privacy over publicity, peace over fame. But you can't disappear completely when you're Ellen DeGeneres. Recently, they were spotted in London, their first major public appearance since the move. Ellen looked different, more relaxed. Her usual blonde hair had grown out. She wore simple, comfortable clothes. No designer outfits, no perfect television makeup. Just Ellen, the real Ellen. Perhaps for the first time in decades. Portia walked beside her, their hands intertwined. After everything they'd been through, they were still together, still choosing each other, still finding strength in their love. The London streets were wet from an earlier rain, but Ellen was smiling. Not the practiced television smile. Something genuine, something that came from within. They stopped at a small cafe, ordered coffee. Like any other couple. No entourage, no security, no cameras following their every move. For a moment, they were just two people in love, enjoying a quiet afternoon in a new city. The woman who had once been one of the most recognizable faces in America was learning to be anonymous again, and maybe that was exactly what she needed. The question now is what comes next. Ellen is 66 years old. She has more money than she could spend in several lifetimes. She has a wife who loves her, a beautiful home in one of the world's most peaceful places. But does she miss it? The applause, the laughter, feeling of making millions of people happy? Or is she content to let that chapter of her life close? Sources close to the couple say Ellen is considering a return to stand-up comedy, small venues, intimate settings, a return to her roots. Others suggest she might write a book, tell her side of the story, set the record straight. But for now, she seems content to simply be to walk the English countryside with her wife, to discover who Ellen DeGeneres is when she's not trying to be. Ellen DeGeneres, the woman who made America laugh for 2 decades, is learning to laugh again herself. Away from the spotlight, away from the pressure, away from the expectations. Their London appearance was brief but significant. It showed a couple who had survived the exporst of times, who had chosen love over image, privacy over publicity, peace over performance. Ellen's story is far from over, but this chapter feels different, quieter, more authentic, more real. The cameras that once followed her every move are gone. The audience that once hung on her every word has moved on. But Ellen and Portia remain together in love. In England, starting over at 66. Ellen is learning something new, that sometimes the greatest performance is no performance at all, that sometimes the best applause is silence, that sometimes the greatest gift you can give yourself is the freedom to disappear. Their London appearance turned heads not because of what they were wearing, or where they were going, or who they were with. It turned heads because they looked happy, genuinely happy, for the first time in years. And maybe that's the real story. Here, not the fall from grace, not the scandal, not the controversy, but the redemption, the quiet kind, the kind that happens away from cameras. When two people choose each other again and again, when love survives everything. When home isn't a place, it's a person. Ellen and Portia found their way home in each other. In England, in a life that's finally, truly, their own. The woman who spent decades telling others to be kind to one. Another is finally learning to be kind to herself. And perhaps that's the most important lesson of all. If this story moved you, let us know in the comments below. What do you think Ellen's next chapter will bring? And don't forget to subscribe for more untold stories of the stars who shaped our world.